topics for you guys this time, as usual. So, first of all, my name is Max Ram. I'm an educator here for the Wildlife Ambassador Program.
I am Gian, and I'm back as well. I'm currently holding post for the hotline coordinator, but I am helping also with WAP in terms of education.
So some of the topics that we have for you guys today will be about our conference and wildlife hero awards coming up in October, the hunting seasons in Belize and why they matter, fire season recommendations, our upcoming snake and crocodile training, some current zoonoses in the country, namely anaplasmosis, malaria, and New World screwworm. And of course, our intakes, releases, and current patients here at BWRC. So we'll go ahead and get into our usual intro song, the One Health song from Bay C.
Icon. Yeah. Listen me. Listen me, feature. Spread the one that's with the paper across the region. Listen me, feature. Listen me. Listen me News would like to introduce you to this brand new concept. One health, one Caribbean, one love. One health, one Caribbean, one love. Together we're strong. One health, one Caribbean, one love. Together we're strong. One health are the brand new concept to fight virus and diseases. Calling all of the various doctors, let's work together to achieve this. Human doctor, animal doctor, the environmental doctor. Each one an important factor. The public health have a brand new chapter. A good example of chick-fil. Even if it don't hurt you, then it still hurt me. If you check the process, you will see it move from the environment to animal, then to we. First from the egg in the water, then from the water to the mosquito, then from the mosquito it goes straight to the people. But if we work together, then it leads to one health, one Caribbean, one love. Together we're strong. One health, one Caribbean, one love. Together we're strong. One health is not just for people with medical occupation. It is for the entire population. So we need everyone cooperation across the region. Improve food security, better solid waste management and water purity. Protect the habitat for you and me, for the animals on the land and the fish in the sea. One Caribbean, one love. Together we're strong. One health, one Caribbean, one love. Together we're strong. Listen me. Enough respect to one health leaders. 12 country across the region. To a help the Caribbean, them a leaders. Let me list out the island: Jamaica, Grenada, Guyana, Belize, St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Suriname, Barbados, Dominica, Trinidad, Tobago, Haiti, Antigua. One health, one Caribbean, one love. Together we're strong. One health, one Caribbean, one love. Together we're strong. One health, one Caribbean, one love. Together we're strong. One health, one Caribbean, one love. Together we're strong.
So hope you guys enjoyed that song. Again, thank you to Basie for the use of his music. And yeah, let's get right into the meat of this. So you guys are probably used to myself and Aurora doing these lives recently, but she has actually moved on from the BWRC. But thank you very much again to Miss Aurora McNabb for being a great hotline coordinator for the 4 years plus that she was here as a part of the BWRC. And we're very happy to welcome back Mr. Gian Vasquez to fill that role and also help out big time with the Wildlife Ambassador program.
Yeah, I'm glad to be back with you guys, and hopefully we can continue working just like how we started. Great on that high note for the Wildlife Ambassador program. So we'll be here. This current project ends until October, so yeah, we'll still be working until then and see where we get to with the Wildlife Ambassador program. But as always, feel free to share the live. Tell those who are around you, those who you know. Let's watch the live today. We have a couple of trivia questions that we have prepared for you. Some interesting talks about hunting season, fire safety, a little bit about usual zoonosis, and these hot topics that we have currently, right? So please feel free to tune in until the end of the live and share if you can.
All right, thank you. And now we'll be moving into our usual trivia questions for this Facebook Live event. So I'll also be posting these questions into the comment section. But if any of you guys know the answer, just comment it. And yeah, it's all participation is greatly appreciated. So our first question for today's trivia is what animals on the hunting schedule have a closed season right now? And just a hint, it's quite a few of them, but list these off and yeah, we might have a small prize for you guys if somebody gets all the answers correct. And then what are 3 regulations that must be followed even if an animal is in the open hunting season? So what rules do you still need to abide by if this animal can legally be hunted and it is in the open season? What do you still need to do to, legally hunt this species? And this is just in light of some recent events that we want to kind of shine a light on the importance of this issue. All right, and that will take us into our next topic, which is our 2026 Conference and Wildlife Hero Awards.
All right, so we're excited to share that we already have a date, as we are already mentioned in a couple WhatsApp messages. We have our WAP Ambassador group chat. If you're an ambassador and not part of the chat, please let us know. We'll add you to that new group chat that we have. But as Max mentioned, we're excited to share that we have a date for October 3rd, 2026, right? So that's where when our Wildlife Ambassador Program Conference, as well as our Wildlife Hero Awards, will take place in San Ignacio Resort Hotel. All right. So all certified ambassadors are welcome. Just let us know. We will have some sort of registration or sign up form that you may need to fill in anytime soon. But we'll share that with you as time comes quickly. But do save the date. The exact hours will be arranged. But yeah, if you come from far, let us know. Maybe we can arrange some sort of transportation. We're still in the early phase of planning, but let's work together from now so that we can have all the ambassadors from all over the country. Not only from the south, from north, wherever you come from. Let's work together so we make it a great conference, just like the one in 2023.
Yeah, it's going to be a great opportunity for networking, for interacting with fellow ambassadors, and we already see from our group chat some great development happening and ambassadors from different sectors working together. So we really want to see more of that, and this is the perfect opportunity to do so. So save the date, and yeah, we hope to see you then. And for the Wildlife Hero Awards, we'll soon be making a nomination um, form that we'll share with all of you guys. And if you know someone that you believe is a wildlife hero, you can answer this form. You'll just have to send us a photo of this person. Tell us why you think that they're a wildlife hero and what organization they're with. And yeah, we can go from there. But do note that the Wildlife Hero Awards are for our ambassadors. So while I know there are a lot of people doing great work out there, this is special for our ambassadors only. So if you're not certified, do so by October.
Yeah, you have enough time.
Yes.
All right, so those are a few exciting things coming up in the sphere of wildlife ambassador program, and we see a lot of ambassadors reaching out for wildlife emergencies and reporting pets, illegal pets, for example. So we're so happy to see you guys active, and this is the entire point of this wildlife ambassador network out there, right? So thank you for all you do, and let's continue doing a good job with this wildlife ambassador network. So, what we have up next in our agenda is our hunting seasons. You may see a couple of posts from the forest department, also ourselves. We try to share that and try to inform you guys about the hunting season. So, one of our quiz questions was that as well. You know what animals are in close season right now, and this is very important to know. And what is currently closed for hunting are female deer. I think I have some graphics here. So we know that female deers are closed for hunting, as well as the nine-banded armadillo, which is closed from February to June. However, the male, they're still open um, from, let's see, from now until June, and then it will close July straight up to September. So males can be hunted, they are in the open season, but females at this moment, they can't, right? What else do we have? We have Gibnut and the Agouti. The open seasons are from June to November. However, from December to May, they're currently closed. All right. As for green iguana, they're similarly closed from February to uh, June as well. And lastly, the game birds. So we have the crested guan, the chichalaka, as well as the other game birds like the black-throated bobwhite, the blue-winged teal, the great curassow, the lesser skunk. They're all closed right up through mid-July. All right, and we just wanted to share actually a quick um, scenario as to why hunting seasons are important and why things are regulated the way they are, right? We saw a very recent case. I don't know if you saw it in the news, whereby you had some illegal hunting happening in um, a protected area. I think it's Bacalar Chico. It's up north. So it's closed. You, as you know, you once it's closed for the hunting season, you cannot hunt, but you can't hunt inside a protected area. And another thing that you can't do is that you can't hunt a mother with young or a pregnant female, right? Or young. So, and what happened here is, you had a group of individuals that were caught with, I think it was five deer, including a female who was pregnant with twins, right? So it's very heartbreaking to see that. And there was only one living fawn, so it's a small baby deer who survived the entire incident, the hunting. And well, we managed to rescue that fawn. They brought it thanks to the rescuers from Belize Maya Forest Trust for bringing it that baby. Right, but it's a serious issue here because there's so many bases of illegal activity here, right? You shouldn't be in a protected area hunting. You shouldn't hunt the female deer off season, and you shouldn't hunt them while they are still feeding, right, nesting their young. So a very heartbreaking case here that we received over the weekend, and yeah.
Also noteworthy is that these people were caught poaching in the protected area, hunting a pregnant female, amongst others, at night as well. So another rule is that hunting at night is also illegal. So just good to know for anyone out there who does do these things. You need to know the rules and you need to abide by them.
Yes. So hunting is something very particular in Belize. Well, there's all these rules that you need to follow them, and they're there for a reason. You know, ecologically, you can wipe out a species if you hunt them during their close season because that is the time where they're mating. They have some sort of biological activity that, you know, if you hunt them, then they're vulnerable to becoming extinct, to wiping them out, right? And as we speak about this, we know that Ruta Maya is coming up. It's a very important cultural event for us in Belize, and we see a lot of people culturally they like to eat game meat, right? But again, it's very important to look at our laws and regulations, which, you know, we must abide. And for example, selling game meat out there, you usually have vendors and what's not. And this would be just a kind reminder that, you know, you can sell it legally if you have a valid dealer's license, right? And the forest department is offering those dealer's license for 3 days. So it's a temporary permit for the 3 days. You can use it however you wish. You can use it 2 days now and one after, as you wish, and that costs 100 Belize dollars for that game license. Of course, you do have to hunt your animals legally. You need to have a hunting license to get them. But the hunting part is one part, you know, and the vending of these game meat is another part that you need to contact the forest department for before. All right.
All right, so on into our next topic, which is another very important one to note, just starting up now, is the fire season in Belize, which coincides with our dry season here. It's a reason that we've seen a lot of patients in the past is just bushfires or agricultural fires getting out of control. And when we annually recognize this fire season in Belize is from February 15th until June 15th. So we know that a lot of people are lighting fires, sometimes for agricultural purposes. This is necessary. We can't say no fires are allowed or anything. Obviously, we're not enforcement either. But we just want to share some recommendations as to what you can do to mitigate the risks of fire and who you can report to as well. So some of those numbers to report fires to, first of all, would be agricultural fires to the Ministry of Agriculture at 804-2079 or 702-2689. Bushfires, you can call 990. You can always contact the police department at 911. You can contact NEMO or the National Emergency Management Organization at 936. Or you can contact for fires in forest reserves 822-1524 or the Forest Department hotline at 610-1524. So just some general rules of conduct when it comes to fire. You should always avoid using it where you can. Like I said, I know that it is necessary for agricultural purposes at times. But if you are using these fires for agricultural purposes, you should definitely do so safely and legally. So what that means is that you should obtain a permit from the agriculture department before burning your agriculture fire. You should avoid any unnecessary burns. if you do have to do a burn, you should do so as a team so that you have multiple people on the ground that can be looking out for these risks and mitigating anything that might happen. You never want to leave a fire unattended. On that same note, the more eyes on it, the better. The more people who are able to quickly respond and stop it from getting out of control. And if you do have to burn, you want to also make sure to make a fire break around your designated burning area. So that would be just a strip of ground that you essentially clear of all vegetation, dry or green. And you want this strip to be 6 to 12 feet wide. What that does is just greatly reduces the risk of this fire jumping into areas that you don't want burned and getting out of control and becoming a bushfire. I'm sure we're all familiar with this risk. We've all seen fires get out of control here and burn up huge chunks of land that should not have been burned whatsoever. So, just being aware of these rules and recommendations can really help us to make it a safer fire season, protect wildlife, protect our lungs, and protect the environment at the same time. So falls right back into the One Health approach as well. Fire safety is a crucial part of it. And I suppose that takes us into our next section.
All right. So, as you may have seen in our Wildlife Ambassador group chat, that we announced that we want to do croc and snake training, right? So it's still coming up. We don't have a date exactly. We're thinking the end of March, somewhere around March 28th. However, this is not final. We do need to check with our trainers. We have the CRC who will be training on croc handling and capture, as well as we were looking to get Mr. Tony Garrell to teach us a little bit about snakes, right? Snake handling, safe handling. And why is this useful? You may see it, you can see in the pictures that we're showing there, where we have several officers who have assisted in these relocations and things like that, where individuals, they want to take the snake away from their yards or things like this. You may see it in Belize City and want to know how to safely handle and relocate the snake. So it's a very important thing, especially for police officers and our ambassadors as well. Whenever we need help with a snake relocation, we know we can count on you guys, and you guys will be trained. You guys will be safe out there and doing these things, right? So snakes and crocs training. If you are one of our ambassadors and you still haven't answered in our poll, please do so or reach out to us, and we will give you all the information we have. We did say though that we want to do it here in our facilities and at BWRC. So maybe you can start thinking ahead of time in terms of transport and these sort of things of how you can get to BWRC for this training, right?
Yes, we're still finalizing the date on that because we do want to make sure that it's a time that works out for the majority of you, our ambassadors, as well as the folk from the CRC and Mr. Tony Garrell who would be joining us for this training. But as soon as we know who all wants to partake in training, then we can figure that out and go from there. But similarly to our Wildlife Hero Awards, we will be having a Google form that you guys can answer to register for this shortly as well.
Yeah.
And yeah, what you'll learn about there is the different species we're likely to encounter, how to determine if intervention is needed on a whole or if it's just an animal in its natural habitat. And also how to effectively and safely restrain and transport these animals if it is a situation where that becomes necessary. Also, the use of the tools and the different facilities at our disposal should someone be injured by one of these animals as well. You need to know where you can reach out to for the proper treatment. All right. And that will take us into our next section where we'll talk about a bit about zoonoses. Gian has done his master's focusing on zoonotic disease and one in particular, but he is very knowledgeable in this subject. So he'll be telling you guys a bit about anaplasmosis, some imported malaria cases in the country, sorry, as well as the ongoing New World screwworm outbreak, which I'm sure by now we're all familiar with.
All right. So starting off, and it's very interesting to see that. Well, sad in one case, we had a local case here by El Pilar where several cattle were found dead, right? And then the farmers were wondering what was happening to their animals, right? And according to a report from Baja, apparently it was anaplasmosis, which is a tick fever. So it's a vector-borne zoonotic disease, which comes from a bacteria that is transmitted through the tick. All right, so it says the Ministry of Agriculture and Baja strongly advised cattle farmers in the Cayo district and in the surrounding areas to immediately implement a comprehensive tick management um, program. Right, they are vector-borne diseases. So if you manage to remove the vector from the whole situation, you manage to remove the disease as well. Right. So they also said to consult extension officers or Baja vets to appropriate treatment using approved medications. Right. So if you do suspect your animals to have um, tick fever, contact your vet, contact Baja to see if it could possibly be anaplasmosis or there are other tick fevers as well that could result in this. It says monitoring herds closely for early clinical signs such as anemia, weakness, weight loss, and reduced productivity. Anemia is one of these telltale signs. If you see a lot of bleeding and it doesn't seem to stop, then that could be one of these indication that you might be tick fever. Right? What happens is that your platelet count decreases, and then you cannot successfully um, close the wound so that or clot the wound so that you can avoid um, bleeding out, right? So that's a very important thing to see there. Follow all guidance provided by the extension officer and Baja, right? Always get whatever advice you can get. Contact your vet um, for any advice, right? So that's on anaplasmosis and tick fever. You can always call us if you don't have as well. If you don't get to Baja, you can let us know and we can see how we can advise you on this as well. So that's on tick fever, on that outbreak that we had in El Pilar. So we also had a malaria outbreak. I don't see where. So a moment as we get this one.
Yeah, so this was a malaria outbreak down in the Crique Sarco village in the Toledo district, I do believe. While it was just 3 cases, it is something that we always want to be aware of. These cases were not locally passed or transmitted, but they were imported cases brought back from Guatemala. And these people have since received treatment and been effectively quarantined to stop the spread of malaria and keep Belize a malaria-free country as we have been for the past several years. So it's not something to be overly concerned about, but as always, you want to be mindful of the risk. You want to reduce vectors breeding in your area as much as possible. Avoid having standing water around, avoid having bush area right up to your house that these mosquitoes will make use of to come in. And importantly, even if it is an imported case, if one of these local species of mosquito that can carry it does bite someone who is infected, then they can then transmit this disease locally. So if you do suspect you are infected, getting treatment is, of course, very, very important, as well as protecting yourself from further mosquito bites. You might think that, okay, I've been bitten by this mosquito, I already have it, I don't have to worry at this point, which, I mean, I'm sure that's not really the thought process there, but you also want to be mindful that if a mosquito does bite you when you are infected, you're putting others around yourself at risk of transmission as well. So that's just a little bit on those few imported cases that we recently saw in the news. Not something to be overly concerned about, but just do exercise caution, of course.
And similarly, I mean, they're vector-borne diseases. Again, if you can deal with mosquitoes, I saw there was an active case of dengue around my house, or around my neighborhood. So we had public health officers coming around and saying, let's try to treat, if you have any standing water, to do so, right? Again, we don't. Belize is declared a malaria-free country, so we don't have to worry too much there. They were imported cases, but we do need to still watch out for dengue and other vector-borne diseases that we can also contract. We want to share a little bit of an update. We asked Baha for an update on New World Screwworm, and it says that as of the 6th week of 2026, there have been 899 confirmed cases of New World Screwworm in Belize. And as you can see in the graphic here, we have more than half of those occurring in dogs, and it has also occurred in wildlife. We've seen a couple of these birds, wild birds, and if you remember, also they were previously in monkeys. But we also see cattle, pigs, sheep, horses, cats, and even humans. Right, so it's a very scary situation there with New World Screwworm. But the majority of them are in Toledo district, since I think the outbreaks come from the south and then they were working their way north. So we had 394 in Toledo and 272 in Cayo district, and less as we go up north. But it's at this point in time, it has been confirmed in every district. So we do want to watch out for this. If you have our animals, please, look out for any open wounds, clean them, spray them, ensure that you observe them closely, right? To ensure that they don't contract New World Screwworm, right? So, good afternoon, Ms. Steph Guadalupe, and thank you for your participation. We're glad to see you here. And we already have an answer for our quiz, but continue answering. Maybe you can also get it right. We'll see closer to the end of the presentations that we have here. So up next, we want to take a look at our current intakes or releases and the current patients that we have here at the clinic.
All right, so baby season at BWRC has officially started again. It actually had an early start for us last year. As you guys may remember, we did get an adorable baby Margay with it's a very sad case that she is not in the wild, but it's a privilege to be able to take care of one of these amazing animals, and it is our strongest hope to get her reunited to the wild in due time. We've also had several squirrels come in, well, 2 squirrels come in so far, that were actually found after being chased around by chickens. So it's unknown how they got into that predicament, but the caller could see that they were in a dire situation and reached out to us. So thank you to that person for being kind-hearted and observant to notice this and bring us these critters. They are responding well to treatment, and as with all of our patients, the hope is to reunite them with the wild as soon as possible. Yeah, so there's the baby Margay, which is growing very quickly, not quite such a baby anymore, and it will be a lengthy process in which we have to completely minimize human contact with this animal so that it does not imprint or get used to humans and see us as a source of food and so on, so that it will ultimately be releasable to the wild. But I have faith that our animal care team is doing an excellent job at that, and yeah, let's all hope that this little girlie can get returned out to where she belongs before too long. Our next patient is, of course, Georgie. We still have along with us. He is recovering. He's on the long road to recovery, but we do see that nasty leg injury from the screwworm when they were essentially eating down to the bone. That injury is finally closing up. It's just taking long, and while it's going to be a lengthy road to rehabilitation for this animal, for Georgie the howler monkey, it is in the process. So we do have lots of faith there. We also have a kinkajou that you guys might remember from seeing on our Facebook or on our social media. It is also a lengthy recovery process as all of the skin from one of his legs was removed. But we've recently just today actually tried a new treatment method on him, and we're looking forward to seeing how that works. The issue with him has been that he really likes to remove his bandage, which then does not give this wound, sufficient protection to heal properly. But that's something that we're working on ways around that, and we do think that we've come across something that might help. So look out to hear more about that. We do also have that tragic case of the fawn that was brought into us by BMFT Rangers. Again, a huge thanks to one of our wildlife heroes from last year, Mr. Marco Santos, who brought in this animal, who is a BMFT, Belize Maya Forest Trust Ranger. And thank you so much for their fast response to this situation and for bringing it to us so that we can try and get this animal rehabilitated as best as possible. It's a tragic case. This deer is still not physically damaged, but definitely very confused, definitely wanting to know where her mother is and what happened. So it's just, again, I can't reiterate enough, a very, very sad case. Next up, we have a crocodile, which was received from the Crocodile Research Coalition. So this croc was rescued out of a drain in Independence Village. It was looking rather emaciated, not in the greatest condition, but it was brought to us by Dr. Tellez down at the Crocodile Research Coalition, and it's responding well. However, upon x-ray, we did come to find out that this animal has a giant or very large fish hook lodged inside. So that's something that we will be removing via surgery. It is a bit of a risky procedure though, so we're just trying to let this crocodile get a bit more weight on before it's attempted.
And up next in our same species, actually, we did get a call last week about an emaciated croc. So, very fancy word for very, very skinny, right? It was a very skinny croc. The caller called in from here in Unitedville, actually, but in the Belize River, um, that he observed a very skinny crocodile swimming in the river. It looked very weak. It looked very that he hasn't eaten for days or probably months. And our team went out there to try and capture the croc. And here's a better picture to see the condition of him. And unfortunately, well, we received it and we believe that the croc did not eat for, I don't know, maybe months, even a year, because we believe that it has been reported before. It was in a better state then, but then, over years, the croc was getting weaker and weaker by the days. And the issue there was that uh, it might have eaten something that have been shot, or it was shot itself, and it was suffering from lead toxicity, which is very very toxic for them, right? So it creates that toxicity in them, and it slowly kind of kills them, right? Of course, he would probably not make it very much longer. So our vet here, Dr. Isabel, decided that the best course of action for this badly injured and very starving patient was, give him at least a humane ending, a humane euthanasia to alleviate its suffering.
Yes, and thanks again to that caller who was pictured there. He did go out with us, guide us to the area where he had seen this crocodile and had seen him in the past, as Gian mentioned. But it was just a very sad case where there's not much that could be done. Well, there's nothing that could be done for this animal besides alleviating his suffering, which was sadly a very drawn out process. So that was another very sad one for us here. Meanwhile, we also did receive a baby howler monkey over this weekend, or the past weekend.
Which unfortunately I don't have a picture for you guys at the moment, but I'm sure we'll be posting very soon on this baby monkey. Um,
Yeah, it was a sad case, but this monkey did make it here to us. Well, actually, our team went to Red Bank to collect this little guy, and he has since been transferred onto Wild Tracks for their primate rehabilitation. It will be a very, very lengthy process, as there's a lot that he has to learn to join a wild troop, but we are hopeful that it'll all go well. Wild Tracks does have some of the best primate rehabilitation in the region by far. And yeah, it will be up to a 7-year process before he is returned to the wild, but there's high hopes that that will still happen. So thanks again to the caller. Thanks to our team for going and receiving this animal. And a huge thanks to Wild Tracks for all that they do in the care of these species.
all right. So with that, we did miss one of our zoonotic disease videos. So we have a video to show you on tick fever, so anaplasmosis. So we will be sharing that with you now. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask us. So yeah, this is our last thing before closing. So let us know if you have any other questions. And what I'm gonna do actually is I'm gonna show the quiz questions just before that video. um, you still have time if you do want to answer any of the quiz questions. Please feel free to do so now. So again, number one, what other animals have a closed hunting season right now? Number two, what are three regulations that must be followed even if an animal is in open hunting season? All right, so those are our questions for today. Feel free to answer in the comment section, and we'll be looking at your answers shortly. With that, I'll leave you with the video on tick fever so that we can be a little bit more informed on these sort of diseases.
Thank you for joining and welcome to another presentation in our series on One Health, presenting important zoonoses. We hope to explain with these presentations why protecting animal health and the environment ultimately protects us. Today we will be talking about vector-borne disease examples, and my name is Dr. Isabel. I am the veterinarian at the Belize Wildlife and Referral Clinic. With the One Health concept, we speak about the many different connections that there are between human health, animal health, and the environmental health. And the approach to One Health speaks to sometimes preventing the disease in the environment or in the animals to protect us. These tick-borne diseases that we are talking about today are certainly an example of that, where we protect our pets and therefore we protect ourselves. So we will be talking about ehrlichiosis and anaplasmosis. I will introduce briefly what is it, what is the causing agent, how common is this disease, what's the disease like in animals and in humans, how do we get the disease, how do we know we have it, and most importantly, how can we avoid getting this disease, all of us. A few general remarks first on tick fever and the link to the One Health approach here. So vector-borne diseases, first of all, are diseases that are transmitted between different species by vectors. These are not always ticks, but there are different vectors. Today we will focus, however, on just two diseases that are transmitted by ticks. They are very commonly found in dogs and wildlife. Ticks, that is, so the prevalence of vectors is very high. The disease can be life-threatening for the animal host if it is not treated. And even in humans, while infections are very rarely diagnosed and much smaller in numbers than in animals, they can be debilitating and even fatal. Globally, vector-borne diseases are on the rise. And the link to this One Health concept or the One Health approach here is that we can much more easily eliminate the disease vector, aka the ticks, in the environment and treat the animal host to prevent this disease risk for both animals as well as us as a host. So, what are we talking about? The causing agent is a bacterium by the name of Ehrlichia and Anaplasma. So we're actually talking about two diseases today that are not identical but have a lot of similarities in that they both will affect many organ systems, but crucially also different blood cells. The names for the disease in animals, we often refer to it as just tick fever, but specifically it's ehrlichiosis and anaplasmosis. And in humans, the disease names are human monocytic ehrlichiosis or granulocytic anaplasmosis. There have been some changes to the names. For simplicity, we will just talk about ehrlichiosis and anaplasmosis. Two bacteria with different species and different strains as well. So, how common is this disease? It is spread worldwide. Here in Belize, we tested dogs at the BWRC and we found between 40 and 50% of them positive for Ehrlichia and 7 to 8% positive for Anaplasma. Looking at the prevalence in humans, this disease was first reported in the 1980s and it wasn't officially tracked until 2008. What you can see here with these numbers from the CDC in the US is, though, a strong increase from 2000, where 200 cases of ehrlichiosis and about 350 cases of anaplasmosis were reported in humans. And then 20, aka 19 years later, there was a tenfold increase in human cases in ehrlichiosis and in human anaplasmosis. 5,655 cases were reported to the CDC in 2019. So this disease is underdiagnosed because it is hard to find and rarely suspected, but it is clearly on the rise. Here is just another statistic from just Maine that was, but again, you can see one case reported in 2003 and in 2013 there were 92. What does this disease look like in animals? It's called often tick fever. It can show no signs. It can show mild signs, and it can be very severe to deadly. It takes several days to weeks to sometimes months from the actual bite to life-threatening symptoms after months, that is. Often at first, fever and lack of appetite is the only thing that appears briefly, and the symptoms are very varied. So it goes from lameness or ataxia to digestive symptoms with vomiting. And ultimately, what often brings them to the veterinarian then is profuse, unstoppable bleeding, which will easily, quickly lead to death. So here is an example here of a dog with nosebleeds, which is often the first thing that brings them into the vet. This disease affects all breeds, but German Shepherds are particularly sensitive. Here is another image here showing you the diversity of the symptoms, again making it hard to diagnose on site, but we know it is very, very common here in our local populations. So we suspect it quite often animals. How do we get this disease? All of us, animals or humans, get it from tick bite. The tick has to be with bacteria, so it has to have Ehrlichia or Anaplasma. It got from a blood meal. Ticks have several blood meals throughout that can take up to 2 or 3 years, and they eat on a host that has this bacterium, and the next host they eat on, they transmit it to. It's important to note that it takes 12 to 24 hours for the tick to transmit the bacterium. So if ticks are removed immediately, that can prevent transmission. In humans, the disease is very unspecific in its signs. Often at first, it's lethargy, lack of appetite, and just general unwellness. One can have joint pains, especially in anaplasma, but also diarrhea and or neurologic signs are observed. Bleeding disorders are also reported in human infection. And this disease, as said earlier, can be debilitating. The fatality rate in ehrlichiosis for humans is up to 1%. In anaplasmosis, it is a little lower. But treatment is possible for this disease. It just needs to be suspected in order to be detected and tested for. So that brings me to the importance of your awareness of this disease being present, hence the reason for our little round of presentations here. How do we know we have it? In animals, as said earlier already, we suspect it quite commonly because we know it is very prevalent. There is a blood test and we have rapid tests. So within 10 to 15 minutes, we can be reasonably sure whether we have it or not. In humans, however, it is much more difficult, and blood tests, again, are required. Yet, if they are not requested, then it will go undiagnosed, and these tests reportedly also can take up to weeks to come back with results. So the diagnosis in humans is not as easy and straightforward as it is in animals. Now we come to the most important part. How do we avoid this disease? In animals, and always, prevention is best, and in this case, animals, to prevent tick infestation on our animals with preventatives is probably the one most important thing that you can do. If you do find engorged ticks already, you may have to treat the environment as well, so your yard. The general recommendation is to check your dogs every day and to remove all ticks thoroughly. And of course, avoid for them to even roam in these bushes. Once the disease was acquired, you will need a veterinary exam and prescription of antibiotics to control the disease. Prevention in the environment is equally as important as on the animals. If you have ticks in your yard, keeping the grass short helps to keep the populations of ticks under control, because they climb up on bushes to then jump onto their host. And there are treatments that you can do to your yard to eliminate the ticks. In humans, the prevention focuses again on preventing to get bit by not going into areas infested with ticks and or treating your clothes with tick repellents, removing any ticks daily immediately so that they don't embed for long. And if you have been exposed and are experiencing any symptoms, then you should, as always, seek advice from your family physician. And mention that you have had ticks and that you are concerned about tick-borne diseases. So, to end here, some further information and references with links to where this information was taken from the CDC, as well as this manual here from the CDC on diagnosis and management of these diseases. As mentioned, it is underdiagnosed. It needs to be suspected. People need to be aware of it more in order to keep us humans safe. And the most efficient way to eliminate ehrlichiosis and anaplasmosis for ourselves is treating our animals. So thank you very much for your attention. I hope you found this talk helpful. Please let us know of any questions. Check out the Wildlife Ambassador program and feel free to suggest any future zoonosis or One Health talks of your interest.
All right. So I hope you guys know a bit more about anaplasmosis now, which is relevant at the moment. There is that outbreak that recently happened in El Pilar up here in Cayo district. So yeah, if you do have livestock, especially in the Cayo district, you want to be mindful. You want to go through these tick treatments, and you really just want to monitor your animals closely. So now let's go on into the answers for our trivia questions. So these questions were, what animals have a closed season right now? And what are 3 regulations that must be followed even if an animal is in an open hunting season? So we did have 2 answers. 2 people replied to this. Both did give correct answers. So the complete list of animals with the closed season as of today are female whitetail and brocket deers, 9-banded armadillos, the gibnut and agouti, green iguanas. Although they do suffer from a lot of hunting this time of year, it is not their legal season, so you really want to be mindful of this. This is the quickest way to wipe out a species, is to eat it while they're in their breeding cycle. Our game birds, so that would be the crested guan, the chacalaca, black-throated bobwhite, blue-winged teal, lesser scaup, and great curassow. And then we do have some regulations that must be followed even if an animal is in the open season. So that would be that it is illegal to hunt any of the species of wildlife set out in the schedule. So those are the ones that are not listed in the game species. Any species of wildlife, unless in possession of a valid hunting license from the forest department, as well as a valid gun license. Any obviously immature wildlife or female accompanied by its young, or using fire, traps, poison, dogs, or any artificial light, or in any area closed to hunting. So this would be protected areas or private lands without permission. And just again, back to that tragic case of this white-tailed deer fawn that we received over the weekend. The people who were caught doing this were breaking just about every one of these rules. Wall hunting is something, it's part of Belizean culture, it's something that happens worldwide. We want to do so in a way that leaves more for the future as well. We want to do it in a sustainable fashion. And the only way to do that is by following these rules set forth by the Forest Department. They are there for a reason. Really, I'm sorry to sound a bit frustrated, but it's just a really tragic incident. So, yeah, those are the answers for our 2 trivia questions, guys.
Yes.
And congrats to Miss Steph Guadalupe and Miss Mercedes Valdez for giving correct answers as well. We'll be reaching out to you shortly.
And for your participation. Thanks for watching and answering those questions. I just wanted to share the presentation that the graphic that we just showed is from our Wildlife and the Law booklet. So if you don't have one and want one, reach out to us. We do have an electronic copy on our website. So reach out to us if you want this. This gives you a little guide on why our species are regulated, which species are endangered, as well as which game species you can hunt, as you saw in the presentation. Right. For example, you have the peccary, which is open right now, but is closed from June to November. Right. So it has all these species that you can hunt, as well as the species in the schedule, which are the animals that are fully protected. Right. The manatee, all our large and small cats, our monkeys, scarlet macaws, and every other non-game wildlife, right? So reach out to us if you want one of these booklets. It's a part of our Wildlife Ambassador Toolkit. So if you're still not an ambassador and want to join, also do reach out to us, and you can get all our toolkits, or Wildlife on the Law, or Wildlife Conflict guides, right?
And you can find the registration link for the Wildlife Ambassador Program right in our comments section as well. So, yes, do please sign up. It's something that even people who have participated who start off saying they don't like wildlife or have any number of reasons not to, everybody leaves this program having learned something valuable. So, highly recommended, guys. And that just about brings us to the end of our February live event. But of course, we don't want to let you guys go just without expressing some gratitudes to people who have, been a huge help to the clinic here and everything that we do. So first of all, I would like to say thank you to a current visiting vet from Maine who has been giving us quite a hand the last 2 weeks, Dr. Angelica Stasola. We have a wildlife ambassador here who is part of the scout group that we trained last year. Mr. Daniel Cornejo has come and volunteered here with us for an entire month. He's been a great addition. He's helped us in so many ways, whether it's taking care of animals, just helping in the clinic day to day, or going out and helping us catch crocodiles. Daniel has stepped up at every opportunity possible, so kudos to him. And of course, our regular volunteers, Mr. Craig Gare and Miss Jen McKnight. Thank you both as ever for all that you do for the clinic. And then our donors, of course, be it for clinic materials, even if it's just some extra towels or sheets. We're always in need, guys. So anything that you can spare, reach out to us, please. And yeah, our donors, big and small, by that. So thank all of you. And then of course to everybody who has called, reported about stuff, brought animals into us, or helped us with transport. Heartfelt thank you to all of you as well for supporting what we do here and playing your part in conserving Belize's wildlife as well. So with that, I think we've come to a close for February's Wildlife Ambassador Program Live. Thank you all very much for watching, and we look forward to seeing you again next month.
Thanks, everybody, and yeah, catch us next month. Bye-bye.
Bye.